Ladies and gentlemen, the day has finally come. The day has finally come. Welcome back to the Ball Oasis show. Y'all, it is time. We are 3 weeks out from the regular season, and that means that it is time to get right into the standings predictions. One of my favorite things to do every season, something that me and Jacob are notoriously bad for. He's notoriously bad for projecting going into the season. We were just reviewing it. We're doing the Western Conference standings today. We're going to start with the Western Conference this year over the Eastern Conference. And last year, looking at our Western Conference standings from last year, out of the 15 teams in the Western Conference, I only got 2 right. Jacob, did you get any right at all?
I only had 1 right.
Which was who?
The Spurs at 15.
The Spurs at 15 is crazy. And I had Utah at 12 right, and I had Minnesota at 8. Those were the only 2 I got right. But other than that, I think everybody missed on the Kings last year. Everybody missed on the Sacramento Kings. Yeah. Everybody probably missed on OKC, Dallas as well, Portland, probably the Lakers. Just to name a few, and that's like a third of the Western Conference right there. So if we can both up our numbers and get just 1 more right than we did last year, I think it'll be a success, wouldn't you say, Jacob?
Yeah, but the only thing with the West is like you don't know. Like I probably won't have any right.
That's the thing, because the Western Conference is so unpredictable, especially in the regular season. Like we have teams like the Clippers and the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers who are considered top end teams in the NBA who could very well be like 6 seeds and 7 seeds in the Western Conference just because of the way that they view the regular season. So these are always super tough to do. That's why I'm so excited to get into it, though. I'm excited for the moments that will come from this video. It's bound to be a great one. Bound to be great. We're recording this on the day of Media Day as well. Media Day has been a blast to just look at some of the quotes, some of the trends that have happened on Media Day today. Jimmy Butler, headliner of Media Day. Jacob, can you talk about Jimmy Butler Media Day just very quickly before we start this? Because that guy's a character, man.
Yeah, changed his hair again. Eye piercing, nose piercings. I think lip. I mean, could be fake.
He went all out.
Yeah, he went all out. He said his emo now. Reacted to the Dame trade. He was happy, sad, mad, then happy again, and hey, he gets the job done. So that's all that matters.
Hey, I would go emo too if I missed out on Dame. I completely understand, man. I completely understand it, bro. Without further ado, though, me and Jacob have been waiting months, literal months, to do this. We have not given away any information about who each other has at what spot. So we are just as excited going into this as anyone else could possibly be. Without further ado, we're going to start from the bottom and work our way to the top like we did last year. Jacob,
you go.
You want me to go first? You want me to go first? Okay. I'll go first, my number 15. This is probably going to be a longer episode, by the way, because we do have to kind of break down some of the off-season moves that each team made. And we'll also have reactions to each other's positioning as well. Without further ado, though, my number 15 spot in the Western Conference goes to the San Antonio Spurs. The San Antonio Spurs are my number 15 only as of a few days ago. Before the Damian Lillard trade, which is something that we didn't know would happen before training camp or mid-season, I had the Portland Trail Blazers at the last place spot in the Western Conference. But I moved the San Antonio Spurs down to number 15 in the offseason. Of course, they drafted Victor Wembanyama with the first overall pick, who will likely be their number 1 option going into the season. They just paid Devin Vassell today. Paid Devin Vassell a bag today, $30 million a season. He's a really good player. $30 million is a lot of money though for Devin Vassell, but they locked him down for the future. The projected starting lineup I have for them going into the season is Trey Jones at the 1, Devin Vassell at the 2, Keldon Johnson at the 3, Jeremy Sohan at the 4, and Victor Wembanyama at the 5. I think that it will be an exciting team as long as Victor Wembanyama is on the floor, and that's something that we don't know
Right.
for sure how much Victor Wembanyama will be on the floor. So I think that played into me having the San Antonio Spurs this low as well. Because if I had to project how many games Victor played this season, I would probably sit between 50, 55 games. That's where I would sit.
Since you're on Victor, I know there is like a games played thing for awards. I don't think that counts towards rookies.
It doesn't?
I might be wrong, but I
That's
don't. I've heard it doesn't. So you could expect this, the Spurs to not play him every game, which I don't think you should, but I don't think it'd be that like hurting them that much if he didn't in the long term.
okay. That's an interesting caveat then, because I don't think that Victor Wembanyama plays 60 games. I don't think he does.
I've heard you got to play that many. Then I've also heard people say rookies don't. So I don't know.
The Spurs, though, they should be a much more fun team to watch than they were last year.
Yeah.
Obviously, Victor Wembanyama is going to bring a lot more viewership, a lot more attention to that team. They've got Greg Popovich as their coach, so they'll be a very well-coached team. They're still just very young. They're very young, and they're going to be running a system around Victor Wembanyama, presumably, so they'll have a new number one option. Their projected win total going into the year is 28.5 that I saw. I'm going to go under. I'm going to go under for the San Antonio Spurs. I think they'll win a little less than 28 and a half games. So I've got the Spurs 15.
Well, I hate to tell you this, but this is why I have the Spurs too.
Oh, okay. I figured.
So, but the only thing, is that air conditioner too loud or is it good? Good.
Yeah, give it just a second. There it goes. Yeah, you're good now.
Good. All right. You covered it all. I think I have a different lineup. I've heard a lot of they're going to put Wemby at the 4 and Zach Collins at the 5.
Really?
So I think that's their plan so far. As of right now, it might have changed. I think it was just so Wemby doesn't have to guard, the big bigs like Jokic, Embiid. I guess Giannis sometimes. Well, yeah, we'll say. I guess for the injury risk of it, And Zach Collins wasn't just terrible on defense last year, but I don't know how I would like Jeremy Sohan off the bench. But like you said, I think my biggest thing is I guess their depth. I still have Reggie Bullock and Campaign on here who they've released.
Yeah.
And they have a few pieces that could get traded. Doug McDermott has been in rumors for a few years, but you covered most everything. Like you said, I think they're going to try to spare Victor some, not play him every game, play him in certain ones, get him used to the NBA. And he did play, I think, in the summer in whatever league. I know it was in Europe. But the over-under, I have a slight under. I think they can get 28. Like we said, the West, it's going to be a bloodbath in the West. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went over, but I think they're set for a good under right now.
I think so, too. The only other player that they really picked up this offseason was Cedi Osman from the Cavs, who will be like a rotational player. So they didn't really get better other places besides the draft. So obviously we know what their intentions remain going forward. They're going to build around Victor Wembanyama like any sane person would. So until they push that rebuild along, they're going to be a team at the bottom of the conference. And with all the moves that other teams have made, it just makes the most sense for them to be down here at the bottom.
Yeah.
Last season, OKC was my 15th place team, though. So they were one game away from making the playoffs. So just an interesting note, man. Jacob, do you want to give your 14 first, or do you want me to give my 14?
I'll give my 14.
Okay.
It kind of feels weird having them this low. Like you say, it's just stacked. This is where I have the Utah Jazz.
Okay.
We know they had that good run last year. They were top 3, I think, toward the beginning of like the first third of the year. I think the projected lineup would be Colin Sexton, Jordan Clarkson, Lauri Markkanen. gets John Collins and then Walker Kessler.
That's what I have too. Yeah.
They traded for John Collins. They drafted Taylor Hendricks. They also drafted Keontae George, who had a really good summer league. I know he had some games where he would get, I think, like, I know double in points and assists, but he was shooting it from three. Like, he was spot on from three. They're another team that can kind of make moves with Kelly Olynyk. Well, that might be their only trade piece on the bench.
Jordan Clarkson's been in rumors for a while too.
Yeah. I think they reconstructed his contract too this past off season. But last year they had 37 wins. They're over under 35 and a half. I think I'm gonna lean under.
Interesting.
For their over under. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they had more, but it's just the rest of the competition. Unless they are like last year and they get hot, which very well possible that. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a play-in push, but I guess it just kind of depends on what they want to do with this core and they do want to tank like they did last year.
Okay. Utah at 14, man. I don't have Utah at 14. I said I moved the Blazers up, but I only moved them up one spot. The Portland Trail Blazers are my number 14 team in the Western Conference. It sucks having them this low. I really like the additions, man. I really like what they did with the Dame trade and the Drew Holiday trade. It looks like Malcolm Brogdon, based on what I heard today, is going to be there, at least until the trade deadline. So we'll have Malcolm Brogdon wearing number 92, by the way, which is despicably bad. Yeah, he's wearing number 92. But he's likely going to be coming off the bench. But all the offseason additions, there are a ton of them with Portland. Of course, draft Scoot Henderson at number 3, draft Chris Murray at number 23, pick up DeAndre Ayton, Robert Williams, and Malcolm Brogdon as a part of the trades. This is the projected starting lineup I have for Portland, and me and Jacob were talking about this before. I think it will be kind of a matchup-based type thing. I don't think Portland will have a set starting lineup coming out of training camp. I don't think so as a fan, and I think it'll be ongoing competition for those spots kind of throughout the season with all the young guys. But if I had to project, I would say Scoot Henderson at the 1, Anthony Simons at the 2, Jeremy Grant at the 3, Robert Williams at the 4, and DeAndre Ayton at the 5. A lot different than what we've seen in the past with Portland. They've got a very athletic front court now. They've got really good interior defense for the first time in as long as I can remember as a fan of the team. Robert Williams, one of the best interior defenders in the league, pick up last year's Sixth Man of the Year. Malcolm Brogdon to be a vet in that locker room alongside the young guards like Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons and Shaedon Sharpe. The Blazers are going to be fun, man. That's what I'm so excited for. The Blazers are going to be fun. They're not going to win a whole lot of games. They're still very, very young, and I think that they'll still have a lot of struggles that they work throughout the season. Like we said, the Western Conference is a bloodbath. So I've still got them this low at number 14. Their projected win total, like the Spurs, is at 28.5, though. I think the Blazers win a few more than 28 games. I think the Blazers win a few more. I think they break 30.
Okay. They were number 14?
They were my 14, yeah.
The 13 is where I have the Blazers. I really like their roster, y'all's roster. I know Miami was the place for that, he was supposed to go or whatever. But the return y'all got really is good.
Beautiful.
Like you said, even if Brogdon stays, it's not too bad. I don't think he'll last till the deadline, which he could if they want to get the most value out of him. But like I said, that's the one team I didn't have any notes on because nothing happened until a few days ago. But like you said, if Robert Williams stays, I'm not even go too far into it because like you said, they won't win a whole lot of games. I think I'll take the over. I think they can get 30 or 31.
I think so too.
But they're going to be really fun to watch, especially with Scoot, Shaedon, Anthony. I believe Matisse, like I said, Matisse is still there.
Yeah.
There is not a horrible roster, but they could make noise and move up, depending on these other teams. But yeah, I'll take the over with Portland too.
Yeah. The only thing that holds them this low for me, outside of obviously a talent gap between the teams that are above them, is the continuity. There's not much continuity. And that's something that you'll have to develop throughout the season. I do like Chauncey Billups being the coach of this team. I know people have been critical of Chauncey Billups in his first 2 years, but I think that this is a team where he can really kind of show what he can bring as a coach. I think he's got a lot of guys who will fit in his system, who can show what his true value is as a coach. So I'm excited.
Yeah, like you said, it'll be matchup based a lot of nights. It feels like so. Yeah, they're gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah, let me go at my number 13 right here, because you're probably gonna gasp at the team I have at 13. I'm not gonna lie. This is a team that I moved. This is a team that I moved down a couple spots within the last week, and the more I think about this team, this is a very talented team. They had a really good offseason, but there are a lot of moving parts to this team. There are a lot of new faces. I've got the Houston Rockets at number 13. I've got the Houston Rockets this low. Obviously, they bring in Fred VanVleet, Dillon Brooks, Jeff Green, some great older players in the free agent market, guys who have won in other places, guys who can bring good veteran leadership to that locker room. They did very well in the draft as well, getting Amin Thompson at number 4 and somehow getting Cam Whitmore at number 20, which still blows my mind. The projected starting lineup I have for them, I've got Fred VanVleet, I've got Jalen Green, I've got Dillon Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr., and Alperen Sengun. That's my projected starting 5 for the Houston Rockets. I just think that, like the Blazers, they're going to have to kind of work their way throughout the season. They've got a lot of young players. Yeah. They've got to establish roles on that team with the guys that are coming in the offseason. This is a team that I've seen get play and hype. We've both seen get play and hype. At their best, I think that they can be a play-in level team. They've got the talent to do it, but I think that there are just so many moving parts at this point. Ime Udoka is a great coach. He's been to the finals. I expect him to continue to be a great coach, but this is year 1 with this core. So I think that there's still a lot of growth that can happen, and I think they'll get better as the year goes on. Their projected win total is 31.5. I think they win more than 31.5 games. I think they win a few more than that. But I've still got them down here at number 13 for me.
Yeah, they're my number 12.
Okay.
I'll kind of elaborate on them. Like you said, Fred VanVleet, Dillon Brooks, a few veterans brought in. They needed to spend money, so you kind of just think Jock Landale got what, $34 million?
Yeah,
close to it. I don't think it's all guaranteed, but that just shows how they had to spend money. Like you said, I think Ime might be the most important thing here, because we kind of did we did see what he did in Boston, which is a far better roster. But he had Boston, after that turnaround that year, as one of the best defenses. And you bring in defensive players like Fred VanVleet, Dillon Brooks. So defensively, I think they'll be okay. Well, I don't. I guess it depends on Alperen Sengun. But I'll be with you on the over. I think they'll get a few games over 31.5. But like you said, if they make a play and push, I wouldn't be surprised. They could get hot. If they get hot, then I would not be surprised they're in a play-in.
This is a culture-establishing offseason for the Houston Rockets, if you ask me. That's the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
You go out and get Ime Udoka as your coach. You go out and you get Fred VanVleet, Dillon Brooks, even Jeff Green to be a super vet in that locker room. Culture establishing.
I'm about to say, it's not even them wanting to compete this year. It's you got that culture in place starting for the next few years, and you're still very young, so they're setting themselves up for a great next few years.
A culture that they desperately needed, because the Houston Rockets would rather be like OKC than the Charlotte Hornets. Let's just put it the way it is right now.
Right.
Yeah. I'll go ahead and give my number 12 first, though, since you already talked about this team. This is where I have Utah. I've got Utah at number 12, a couple spots higher than you. This team won 37 games last year. This team won 37 games, and they add John Collins. I think they had a really good draft as well. getting Keontae George and Taylor Hendricks, two guys that I'm high on. Keontae George, like you said, had a really, really good summer league. So he's a guy that I think could crack that rotation opening night, honestly.
Yeah, I think
Taylor Hendricks is a great 4 on that team. Projected starting lineup, I've got the same one you do with Sexton, Clarkson, Markkanen, John Collins, and Walker Kessler. I really like Will Hardy as a coach. I think that he's a really, really good coach. The projected win total, I'm not going to touch on much more about them because I don't have a whole lot to say, and I think you touched on a lot of the good things as well. Projected win total, 35.5. I've got them 2 spots higher than you, but I'm going to go with the under. I think the Utah Jazz win about a game under. But they'll still be a solid team. I think Lauri Markkanen is poised to have another all-star level season. I think we could see guys like Jordan Clarkson or Colin Sexton get moved if they're wanting to go towards more of a real rebuild type thing. I just don't know if that's the direction they want to go in because, like we said, they won 37 games last year. They were just a few games out of the play-in. So we'll see. We'll see with Utah Jazz. They're kind of one of those teams that are directionless, but it's not like a hopeless directionlessness, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think they're starting to rebuild off pretty good, especially with Lauri Markkanen having an all-star year last year after, him being kind of bounced around a little bit. Like I said, we touched on it. Like I said, they're another team. If they make the play-in, I wouldn't be surprised. But I have the teams like 12 through 15. I kind of have them like the over and unders are different. So I was like, I don't even know if it makes sense of what my over and unders yet. But yeah, the Jazz, if like I said, they're a 10 seed, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. The Jazz have got a little something to them. They do.
Yeah.
This is where it gets interesting. Yeah. This is where it gets interesting. The 11 spot. The spot right outside of the play-in where we saw the Dallas Mavericks end up last year, where nobody would have expected that team to end up that low. Jacob, do you want to go first at this spot, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
My heart's beating. I hate having this team low.
The 11 spot is like the most disrespectful seeming spot to put a team.
Man. I'm gonna see what this team finished last year real quick.
Here, let me go first then,
right,
because I'm excited about this spot.
Okay, I got it pulled up, so I'm ready whenever you are.
This is a team that I've seen be regarded as highly as like a top 4 seed in the Western Conference this year. This is a very good team on paper. This is a team that I've been extremely high on in the past.
I'm not.
This is a team.
I think we might have the same.
By your reaction, I think we do, which is crazy, which is actually crazy. I can't believe you have them this low for thinking about the same team. At number 11, without further ado, I've got the New Orleans Pelicans at number 11. You have the Pelicans there too?
Yeah. I hate it. I hate it putting them this low, but
wow. Which is crazy because on paper, the Pelicans are a great team. They're a really, really good team. But of course, the obvious questions that we've had to ask with them over the past couple of years is who's going to be on the floor? Who's going to be on the floor? If everybody's healthy, their projected starting lineup is one of the best in the Western Conference. You got CJ at the 1, you've got Brandon Ingram at the 2, Herb Jones or Trey Murphy at the 3. Of course, you got Zion at the 4, and you've got Jonas Valanciunas at the 5. Their offseason wasn't a very exciting one. They draft Jordan Hawkins at 14, which I think is a pretty good pick. But they only get Cody Zeller. Cody Zeller is the only guy that I think cracks that rotation outside of that.
Yeah.
They just got so many questions, though, man. Out of every team that we could have put at this spot, I couldn't bring myself to put any other team there. The Pelicans are the one with the most questions. They're the one that I could see blowing up the most. And I don't have much more to say about it because like I said, I've been extremely high on this team. And at their peak, we know they can be a good team. They were the 1 seed in the Western Conference like a month and a half, 2 months into the season last year.
Yeah,
they were like 21-8 through like the first 29 games. They were a really good team. But then after that, they just fell completely off because of injuries, man. So tell me why you have the Pelicans at 11, though.
I know I caught some feedback for a few weeks ago having Zion so high on the
Right.
rankings. Like I said, this is the last chance. I believe in him being healthy or somewhat healthy. But like you said,
It sounds like you don't believe though.
Huh? Yeah, I know. That's I don't know. That's just how the West is. It's like because when I first did this, I had them as high as 7, and then I was like, I just can't do it because even Brandon Ingram missed a lot of time last year. Um, I'm hoping Zion's healthy, but like you said, you can't count on it. Like I really hope he has a healthy year, a good year. We've seen what he does when he's healthy, the numbers he puts up. Like you said, the 1 seed last year before, I think him and Brandon Ingram got hurt, or it might have just been Zion. And I like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, but I don't know.
So many questions, man.
Yeah, it's just
So many
questions.
questions.
I think Jose Alvarado's hurt right now. Wrist injury, I think. So I think he might be ready before the season, but it's just so many questions from New Orleans. I couldn't put them above the other teams.
If there are any Pelicans people watching this, just know that we both had the Sacramento Kings at the 11 spot last year, so that could bode very well for the Pelicans, finishing a lot higher than this. So just a little side note. The projected win total though for the Pelicans is 44.5. Obviously, I've got the under, and I assume you do as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sucks, man. That sucks. I was really excited to see where you were going to go with it. But I kind of figured though. I kind of figured you would go with the Pelicans at 11 too.
Like I said, if they get closer to 50 wins, I wouldn't be surprised with the team they have on paper. But that's just on paper right now.
Yeah. Go ahead. I want you to give your number 10 first because we're in play-in territory now. These are the play-in level teams. Who's your number 10?
I've been high on this team. I hate having this low. It's just they do have some questions too. This is where I have the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Really? Wow.
I really hate having them so low. Ants has become one of my favorite players. Their projected lineup is I think Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Rudy Gobert.
That's what I got.
So even looking at that, it's like they should not be a 10 seed.
Not at all.
Like I said before, I think Cat and Rudy, I think they'll figure it out offensively. Even I guess you want to say defensively, I think they'll figure it out. They lost Jalen Noel, Taurean Prince, and Austin Rivers, but they brought in Shake Milton, Troy Brown Jr., and they drafted Leonard Miller.
Underrated draft pick.
Oh yeah, he was projected first round, I believe.
Yeah, I wanted the Blazers to get him at 23.
And I think the rotation, I think they still got to steal on Naz Reid, his contract, especially if they do decide to move off of one of Karl-Anthony Towns or Rudy. Still got Kyle Anderson there. Shake Milton's going to be a great backup guard, I think, if he actually gets the playing time and the chance. They're a team that could have did better in the playoffs last year. We do know that they had some injuries, and Jaden McDaniels I think broke his hand.
Self-inflicted.
Yeah, but it doesn't sit right having this low. I hate it. I'll go ahead and say my 8 through 10 have the same record, close to it.
Wow.
And if any three of them ended up at 10, I guess I just kind of had that matchup based, who wins more, the tiebreaker, whatever. Their over-under is 44.5.
Mm-hmm.
They won 42 games last year, and that's with Cat only playing 39. I think 29, 39.
Yeah.
I took the slight under. I had them winning one more game. I had them around 43 wins, but I'll go ahead and say any team in the West, if they have way more than their over-under, I'm not surprised. But I've been hyping the Timberwolves up, but I just couldn't do it. Looking at everybody's moves and stuff, I couldn't do it.
Who would have thought that you had the Minnesota Timberwolves lower than I did? That's actually the craziest part to me.
Like even with New Orleans, like I had the Wolves a lot higher. It's just going over everything and certain factors of teams. It was like I don't know. I know one of these picks you're going to be shocked, but I couldn't do it.
Oh, I don't doubt it, man. I don't doubt it. My number 10 though is not the Minnesota Timberwolves. This was a team that overachieved a lot last season.
Wow.
I've got OKC. I've got OKC at my number 10. They were my 15 seed going into last season. I'm gonna give them a little more love going into this season, and they could very well be higher than the 10 seed. Off season, they drafted Cason Wallace at number 12, I believe. They picked up like the EuroLeague MVP. His name is like Vasilije Micic. We'll figure out how to pronounce his name, I'm sure, as the season goes on. He's a 6'5" point guard. And they got Davis Bertans from the Mavericks, who I think was more of a contractual trade, but he's there. The projected starting lineup is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course. I've got Lu Dort and Jalen Williams both starting right now, the shooting guard Jalen Williams, along with Josh Giddey and Chet Holmgren. Yep. This is the first season we'll see of Chet Holmgren. Very excited to watch him play. He was one of my favorite rookies going into last year. Obviously, I've been high on him for a very long time. So we'll see if Chet Holmgren lives up to some of the hype that he's received going into this year and years prior. I've only got them this low just because there are still some moving parts like Chet Holmgren, and they're still very young. They're still a very young core. They obviously overachieved in a big way last year. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with a first-team All-NBA caliber season was incredible. And you would expect him to be able to replicate that. You would expect him to be able to replicate that pretty easily. I think all the pieces around him stepped up and played their role very well last year. And I mean, I would expect the same thing again because they basically brought back their core. They brought back their whole core. They brought back a lot of the same role players. But I think until they make a big acquisition via trade, I think that this is the area that they'll sit around. And I think that we'll see a lot of Western Conference teams, especially if we're projecting, just have more talent than OKC. That's just what it is. They're more proven. They're more talented. Mark Daigneault's a good coach. He's done very well, especially over the last 2 years or so. Their projected win total, like the Minnesota Timberwolves, is 44.5. I'm going to go with under for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they win about 39, 40 games. But I'm still very excited to watch the Thunder and see if they can replicate the same success that they had last season. I've got them at number 10.
Yeah, I'll give them one a Thunder when I get to them.
Oh, so they're higher. They're a good deal higher.
Find out.
Let me go ahead and get my number 9 then, because this is where I have the Minnesota Timberwolves. I've got the Timberwolves one spot higher.
You have like 3 spots higher.
Nah, man. You know that I'm not a Timberwolves believer. So even to have them at 9, they were the only other team. I'll say this: they're the only other team I considered for that 11 spot, other than the Pelicans, because they're a team that could potentially blow up. Obviously, we know the whole Cat Rudy situation has not played out very well so far. I'm not a Chris Finch believer, unlike some people on this channel. I'm not a Chris Finch believer at all. But I'm
very wrong last year. Very wrong last year.
Yeah, that was still one of the craziest things you've ever said. Obviously, on paper, though, their starting lineup is very talented. Their guards are really, really good. Anthony Edwards is a guy who could very well be a first-team, second-team All-NBA caliber player. I know that you're a lot higher on him than I am, even. As you've given him some MVP love. I won't go that far, especially having the Timberwolves this low. But they'll be an interesting team to watch. And I think with Karl-Anthony Towns only playing 29 games last season, there isn't a big sample size to really tell whether Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert can exist as time goes on. So I'm not going to be overly critical of the Timberwolves, kind of like I've been in the past. Like I said, they're a talented team. They've got some proven players on the roster. They've got Mike Conley. They've picked up Shake Milton and Troy Brown, who have played other places, who've played playoff minutes other places. Kyle Anderson's a really good guy to have off that bench. They've got a solid 8-man rotation. Right. And I really like the draft pick of Leonard Miller as well. Their projected win total is 44.5, though, like the Thunder. And I think the Timberwolves win. I think they're an even 500 team. I think they're 41-41. So I'm going to go under. But I've got the Timberwolves 1 game higher than OKC at number 9. I think the Timberwolves will have some very good moments. I think they'll have some very bad moments.
Yeah, I agree.
It will just be whether they can, keep things intact, keep everything intact.
Yeah. If they somehow wiggle their way to a top 6 seed, I mean, Ant MVP could happen. So my number 9. I've been waiting to hear this or tell you this. I have your guy. This is where I have Dallas Mavericks.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Your guy Luka, called state MVP the last few years. We'll see if the tradition continues. I have the projected lineup of Kyrie Irving, Luka, Josh Green, maybe more than likely.
I have Tim Hardaway Jr.
Okay, either way, Grant Williams, probably Dwight Powell.
I had Maxi Kleber here.
Okay, at forward or center?
At 5.
5. Okay. I don't think their roster or lineup is set outside of the guards for sure. They lost Christian Wood, Reggie Bullock, brought in Grant Williams, Dante Exum, who's back in the league.
That's actually insane that Dante Exum is playing NBA basketball in 2023.
They said he was good overseas, but we'll see. They drafted Derek Lively at 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They traded. Didn't they trade the pick?
Yeah, they traded OKC's pick. Yeah. They traded him for Davis Bertans.
Right. Omax Prosper, who could get some minutes. I don't know how quick Derek Lively develop, but I don't know if he'll start this year. He might play a big role eventually. And we saw what Jaden Hardy did last year. He was pretty good, decent.
He's good. He's a good player.
I will say they are getting a full season of Kyrie Irving and Luka together. If nothing doesn't go downhill, they were below 500 together last year. I can't remember the record. Not sure. It was a very small sample size.
Yeah, it's like a 15, 20 game sample size. So I'm not too critical with that.
Yeah, I guess it's just the rest of the roster doesn't do it for me. I do like the Grant Williams pickup defensively, which they need. He has some shooting too, but just roster wise, I had to put him in 9. I just couldn't do it. Like I said, they're going to prove me wrong. I'm pretty sure they're going to.
That's crazy. That's crazy to me. 9 is crazy to me.
I haven't been high on Dallas all summer. Even last year, I wasn't high on them. But their projected over/under is 44.5. I had them right under. I had them at 44 wins, or no, 43, 44. I think, like I said, the 8 through the 10 is going to be real close. I think either they'd be tied or 1 game off. You might be even more surprised at the next one, but I couldn't put Dallas above the rest of the 8 teams.
Huh.
Even if they fall to 10 and Minnesota's better, I wouldn't be shocked.
Really?
I know there is questions about Kyrie, every year, but I think this year I think it'll be a lot better this year. But it doesn't seem like it, but we'll have to see.
Interesting. I don't have much to say about that. Wow.
Yeah, I say you'll have them a lot higher. I already know. I won't say a lot higher, but you'll have them higher, more than likely.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll go ahead and give my number 8. It's not the Dallas Mavericks. I'll go ahead and tell you that. My number 8 seed. Get into the top 8. These are official playoff teams. You would project if they, win their playing games. My number 8 seed is the Los Angeles Clippers. My number 8 seed is the Los Angeles Clippers. What's that reaction?
They're my number 8 too.
Really?
Yep.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, honestly. They didn't do anything in the offseason. They did absolutely nothing this offseason. Up to this point, at least. Up to this point. Obviously, we know a certain player has wanted to make his way there, but has been unable to do that up to this point. Projected starting lineup for them is the same as last year, as long as they're, healthy, which is something you can never say with the Clippers. Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, and Zubac. Great starting lineup. They've got great depth. Terrence Mann, Norman Powell, Robert Covington, Mason Plumlee now. They've got Bones Highland who can come off the bench and be a spark plug for them. They've got a great team on paper. And we know that they're a team that can make noise. I had them at my 7th spot last year, though. And I had no hesitation to do that.
Yeah.
Having them at my 8th spot this year is the exact same way. I have no hesitation putting the Clippers at number 8. Their projected win total is 45.5. I'll go ahead and say I have them at the under at 42 and 40.
Since they're my number 8, I had them 43 and 39.
Pulling him off.
I'll touch on it briefly. Like you said, it's the if they're healthy. We know Ty Lue said he wants them to take the regular season more serious. We'll see if that happens. They were good last year. They finished what? I don't remember.
They're the 5 seed in the Western Conference.
They were 4 or 5, and that's with, I believe, Kawhi was hurt some, and PG was out towards the end of the year. Like you said, they didn't lose anybody. They brought in KJ Martin and drafted Kobe Brown, who had a great summer league. But we'll know more about the Clippers whether it be Malcolm Brogdon or James Harden, whether they trade for either one of them. But like I said, it's just the if, because we know they're putting a rule in for load management that hasn't stopped them before. So I hope
let me ask you this about the Clippers. Is this the last year that they run it with this core? Is this the last year?
I think so.
The
reason I say that, they're both, Kawhi and PG are up for contract extensions. And there's been no news on it, I don't think. And I know Steve Ballmer has, I don't know if it was a player or a report that he almost blew it up before, like a year or two ago. But so I think with them both being free agents, and you got teams like Philadelphia, I know has this cap space plan as a contending team, having one of the most cap spaces next off season. But there's other teams that have a lot of cap space. I know they both like being in LA, but if I'm LA and it's been 4 years now?
Yeah.
They haven't been healthy at all the 4 years. Well, the first year they went to the Western.
The bubble year was the best chance they had.
Yeah.
They were both healthy. They had a healthy role. They had healthy role players. They had 2 6-Man of the Year finalists coming off the bench, and they blew a 3-1 lead.
Yeah, so it's I think this is it. I know we've talked about it briefly over the summer song, but yeah, I think this is it.
I think so too, man. I think so too.
I really want both to stay healthy for, even if it's not a full year, for most of the year. Like, I just want to see them as a team and not have to throw in pieces or change rotations up all the time.
Yeah, Paul George is one of my favorite players, and I love watching Kawhi Leonard as a player too. Russell Westbrook's one of my favorite point guards of all time. The way he closed last season was really promising.
He was good last year.
And he's back on a very team-friendly deal. So if the Clippers going to make some noise, they better do it quick, though.
I think if they decide before the deadline that this is it, I think they go get James Harden. It was also an expiring deal, so I mean, you're not stuck with him after if it goes bad.
Yeah.
But I guess it'd be Russ. If that happened, it'd be like Russ, James, PG, Kawhi, Zubac, and that's a good lineup if you want to go all in. But so if there's an injury, I think a deal gets done a lot sooner, some type of trade. But we'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not surprised we both have the Clippers at 8. Yeah, I will be surprised if we have the same team at 7. I will.
Let me get my 7 first.
Go first. I want you to go first on this one.
This is where I have the Memphis Grizzlies.
Okay, yeah, I'm glad we don't.
Okay.
The Grizzlies at 7.
Yeah,
The Grizzlies
I had
at
him. Hey,
7.
I had him lower last year.
You did. This is progress. This is technically
Progress.
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 But the Grizzlies at 7?
The Ja Morant suspension kind of plays into it. Desmond Bane had a surgery in the offseason. I don't think he's clear for contact yet, which I didn't know about till like a week ago. I know they brought in Marcus Smart.
Right.
My thing with that, he did not have a great defensive year last year.
By his standards.
By his standard. But you do pair him with Jaren Jackson. With Steven Adams. But they did lose. They lost Tyus Jones. Jaws out 25 games, which they have a history of being good with him out. It wasn't as good they wasn't as good last year as in the past, but I still think there'll be around 500 with him out. When he comes back, I think the lineup will be Ja, Desmond Bane, Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson, Steven Adams, who's also coming off surgery. Then rotation: Luke Kennard, Xavier Tillman, Santi Aldama, David Roddy, who was pretty good last year. Zaire Williams, who kind of
he fell out. He fell out
last year. He didn't get a lot of time. I don't know if it was injury or just fell out of the rotation for some reason. They won 51 games last year.
They did.
Normally a great regular season team. We go to the games. We see what they can do. It's just they lost a big piece in Tyus Jones. Which
you think Tyus Jones was a piece to knock them down 5 spots?
No. Well, the big piece is Ja missing 25 games. But I know they brought in Marcus Smart, who's not the worst playmaker. He's a decent playmaker. But I guess it's the continuity of throwing him in the rotation. And like I said, I'm more than likely to be wrong. I'm gonna be wrong on all these.
Well, yeah. What if I told you this? Ja Morant missed 21 games last year.
What was the record without Ja, or that span? Do you know?
Let me look it up. I'll look it up really quick.
I know it was good, but it wasn't as good as it normally is in past seasons with him missing time. Yeah. Like I said, if they're top 3 again, I would.
They were 12-10 without him last season.
Okay, so that's above 500. So that's not terrible. If I think they have a great chance of being higher. Like I said, I'm selling that low more than likely.
It's crazy to me.
I don't think you had him at 6 last year, didn't you?
I did. I don't have him at 6 this year. I can go ahead and tell you that.
But Jaren Jackson, while Ja's out, I think Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane will have to step up offensively, which I think both have the ability to do so, especially Desmond Bane, who is one of the best shooters in the league.
Right.
I'd like to see Jaren Jackson in the post more, not 3-point line as much. He can hit the threes, but sometimes it's streaky. The over-under was 46.5.
Mm-hmm.
I had him at the slight under. I had him at 45.
Wow.
But if they go over, I would not be surprised. I'm kind of guaranteed. I'd bet the over more than the under. It's just I'm leaning slight under right now.
7 for the Grizzlies. I mean, I guess I got to keep in mind this is improvement from where you had them last year, but still 7, man. That seems so low. Seems so low.
Like if they're top 3,
you've got OKC above the Grizzlies.
So I think they're gonna have.
I'm so glad we did this.
I think they're gonna have that Sacramento leap this year.
Don't give away too much yet.
But yeah, I've been high on OKC awesome. I'm not gonna give a lot away, but like I said, if they're top 3, I'm not surprised. But with even I don't know, I'm gonna be wrong. I already know people when this comes out, Memphis fans are gonna be on me like they normally are, especially the ones we know. So I got him at 7.
That's actually crazy to me. That's actually crazy. At my number 7, Let me give my number 7 really quick because I don't have a whole lot to say about them. I've got the Sacramento Kings at number 7.
Really?
This is where I have the Kings. This is where I have the Kings this year. Not a exciting offseason for them. They brought in Sasha Vezenkov from the EuroLeague, who's one of the best players over there, who will likely be in their rotation from day one. I don't know a whole lot of what he does, but he's been really hyped up to be a really good player.
I think they've been trying to get him over here for a few years now.
Yeah, so we'll see what he can bring to the Kings. My projected starting lineup, though, the same as last year: De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, Domantas Sabonis. So as long as they're healthy like they were last year, they should be a playoff team. I'm not going to go as high to say they're the 3 seed again, but I think they'll still be one of the best offensive teams in the league. They still got a lot of questions on the defensive end. What'd you say?
I say the defensive end, yeah.
Yeah, they picked up JaVale McGee, so we'll see if JaVale McGee can provide some type of interior defense for them if they decide to put him in the rotation. Projected win total for them is 44.5. I'm going to take a slight over for the Kings. I'm going to say they win about 45 games, 45-37 for the Kings.
Okay. I will say I do.
The Grizzlies at 7 is just crazy to me. It's so crazy.
I do have a hot take for the West.
Let's hear it.
I'm not getting to it yet. I'll get to it.
Okay.
I will say as you see, I guess with the Grizzlies direction, I'll take a swing. I'll take, crazy take, whatever. That don't bother me.
I love it. I love it.
You're like, okay. So you may get my number 6? Or is it?
Yeah, go ahead.
My number 6 is where I have OKC.
Okay. I thought you'd have them high. I thought you'd have them a little higher, just the way you were talking.
I thought about it. Let me pull it up. Like I know you touched on it. You had them at 10, right? Or 9?
I had them at 10.
Pull up the. I know they're young, but they were missing a big last year, and Chet fills in with that. If he stays healthy, I know he had an injury. Jalen Williams played, not J-Dub, I think it was J Will.
Like Jaylin, Jalen Williams?
Yeah, I think so.
Charge
Williams. I don't even know how tall he is. He can't be that tall.
I think he's like 6'7", 6'8".
So I think I know the rebounding was not good, and Chet will definitely help that. Should help it. Against certain centers. Against certain centers, like we said with Vic, against certain centers, maybe not. But they didn't. They lost Mike Muscala, and that's about it. They brought Chet will be here. They brought in Cason Wallace, who I like for them.
Yeah, me too.
Like you said, I think the EuroLeague MVP or something. Is that
what's his name?
It's
Micic. Vasilije Micic.
Yeah, they brought in Bertans. They had Victor Oladipo, who did, get injured in the playoffs.
I don't know what's his timetable. When's he supposed to come back?
I have no idea. They do have like 19 or 21 players, so I think they've cut a few already. This stuff is from a while back. Like you said, I don't know if they waive any more players or they condense and make a trade. And like you said, they have the pieces to go get a star whenever they want. I believe Sam Presti today said they're in no rush because I believe he said they could have a star at that position that they would trade for. They just don't know it yet with all the young talent they have.
Okay.
I think we had the same lineup: SGA, Lou Dort, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, Chet.
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever order you wanted in. I like the surrounding pieces. Isaiah Joe, who got minutes last year, was one of the best shooters in the league. I know a team that needed that last year or could have helped. But SGA was, I think he finished 4th in MVP voting.
Yeah, he did.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's that high again or better. We talked about it about a month ago. He averaged 31 points, I think, and not even making a 3 a game.
Right.
Averaged 3 a game made. So
crazy.
The continuity is there. Like you said, they didn't really lose anybody. So the chemistry will be there. I guess I'm banking on SGA taking that next leap or close to it. Josh Giddey, I know you're high on Josh Giddey, I believe.
I like Josh Giddey, yeah. I do.
So I think he can take another step, improving his game. And Jalen Williams was second Rookie of the Year voting
He was.
last year, and he definitely could have improvement. Lou Dort might. I could see him getting traded eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe he's been in
some talks this past offseason.
Yeah, so he was in some rumors, but like I said, I'm going with. I think they'll have that Sacramento jump this year. I think there'll be a team that a lot of people have low, or I know a lot of people have them high, but they could make that jump where they could be a playoff team and kind of not set a culture, but go ahead and start the way to. I don't want to say competing, but being in the playoff conversation every year.
Okay. Wow. This having them over the Grizzlies is still crazy.
They're over under. Like I said, I'm not afraid to take a swing. They're over under. I think was 44.5. I had them over. I had them at 45.
Okay. Okay, see, believe
it.
If it turns out to be true, then you look like a genius right now.
There's a lot of people high on them. I know. I don't know. I think SGA will take that leap. I think he'll be in MVP conversation again. Maybe not, top 3, but he'll be in the conversation, I think.
I love the disparity right now, though. I love.
I guess I have a take. I have a take, but
we'll get there. Let me give my number 6. This team was the 6th seed last year. They didn't do a whole lot this offseason. I've got the Golden State Warriors repeating as the number 6 seed. I've got Golden State here at number 6. Of course, we know about the Jordan Poole for Chris Paul trade. We don't know if we've seen some things come out about Chris Paul potentially starting. So my projected starting lineup, I've got Chris Paul in it with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and Draymond Green. So along with that, they picked up some guys who could potentially crack the rotation, guys like Corey Joseph and Rodney McGruder, who has a history with Golden State players, which is pretty funny. And Dario Saric. They picked up Dario Saric, too, and they drafted Brandon Podziemski, who was really good in the Summer League. Lester Quinones is a guy who showed out in Summer League, too, who has been in the organization for a little over a year now, who could potentially take over that Jordan Poole-type role off the bench. It could be Moses Moody. It could be Brandon Podziemski, their draft pick. We'll have to just kind of wait and see. But the fit with Chris Paul with the Golden State Warriors is interesting because they've never been a team that struggled to pass the ball. They've never been a team that struggled to share the ball. They're consistently tops in the league in assists. They're also consistently tops in the league in turnovers, just based off the system that they run. They're always at the top just because the ball is constantly moving in their offense. So by terms of scheme fit, Chris Paul is great. He's always been a good assist to turnover guy. On the defensive end, though, Chris Paul at age 37, 38 isn't giving you much. He's not giving you much anymore. And Golden State hasn't been a team that's really struggled on the defensive end. But perimeter defense is something that they could lack. With Klay Thompson being older in his career, Draymond Green, of course, having to compensate by playing on the interior. Outside of Andrew Wiggins, they're not very well versed on the perimeter defensively. So I've got some questions. I've got some concerns about Golden State. Of course, they're still wanting to push along guys like Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody, who have cracked the rotation but haven't really given them a whole lot up to this point in their careers. They need those guys to take a step if they want to get back into title contention.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of a lateral offseason for Golden State. I think it was big to bring back Draymond Green. I think that was huge for them to keep their core. And obviously Steph Curry is a transcendent player still. He's still a guy that is the best point guard in the NBA at age 35. So as long as you have him on the floor, you've got a chance in every game. The projected win total, 48.5. I went 2 games lower. I have them at 46 and 36. That's my record for the Golden State Warriors this season. I've got them at number 6, and I feel pretty confident about them being here.
Golden State is where I have them at number 5.
Okay.
Like you said, a lot of the same reasons. They had, I think, the best starting 5 last year. when they all were together on the court.
Minus, yeah.
We know how the on-off numbers with Curry were, injury, and even when he played. I said Paul probably will start at first.
That's what we've seen, yeah.
It could change. I think Steve Kerr will stagger them at all times. One of them will be on the court at all times, Steph and CP3. Because we've seen CP3, he can run it. He can run an offense. He can run a team. And I think Draymond said it. He can unlock Kuminga and Moody. I think Kuminga more specifically. With that, Poole wasn't the worst playmaker, but I know sometimes he did get like tunnel vision. Tried to do a lot. But CP3, he even the veteran leadership. But I just think the biggest thing is why they wanted him was that second unit.
Yeah,
like I said, they're going to move the ball, and Chris Paul is one of the. I know he's older, but he's one of the better, I'll say, passers in the league. Still, kind of can set the offense, get everybody where they need to be. It's not much to say. I know they were the 6th seed last year, but Steph missed a month, I think.
Yeah,
about a month. The over/under is 48.5. I think I was close with you. I had him at 45 wins.
So 1 game off.
Yeah. So like you said, they're another team that could be a lot higher if they stay healthy, or they could if something happens they could fall. But perimeter defense, like you said, that's like the only thing that really really worries. But
yeah, and the thing about Golden State too, when we talk about the starting lineup, this is more true about them than any other team in the NBA. Their closing lineup is so much more important than their starting lineup to start the game.
Right.
Which is true of every team, in my opinion, but none more important than Golden State's.
Yeah, I can agree.
Because, they'll run out that death lineup, and I guess they'll have to figure out what that lineup will be this year, who will plug in for Jordan Poole. And that lineup has consistently been one of the best in the NBA.
Right. One of the hardest to stop, but.
Okay. My number 5, though, this is where I have not the Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks are higher than number 5.
I know. I think I know you got them.
But at my number 5, this is where I have Phoenix. This is where I have the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are at number 5. Obviously, we know everybody outside of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant is basically an off-season addition.
Yep.
Just to go down the list, of course, Bradley Beal, Yusuf Nurkic, Grayson Allen, Eric Gordon, Nasir Little, Yuta Watanabe, Drew Eubanks, Bobo, Keita Bates-Diop, Keon Johnson. That's 10, 11 players who they picked up in the offseason who could potentially get some type of rotational minutes.
They brought in like 13, 14 players, it seems like.
Absolutely insane, dude. And their starting lineup, we've talked about it a little bit even on this channel. I've got it at Devin Booker. I think Devin Booker will be the point guard for the team.
Yeah.
Bradley Beal. I've got Josh Okogie. Starting with them to provide a perimeter defensive element. I've got KD at the 4. I've got Nurkic at the 5 now. And of course, I have my questions about Nurkic's fit on the Suns. But I still think, as long as you have Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal, you're going to be one of the best offensive teams in the league. Everybody knows that. I think regular season, though, it'll kind of be like what they did last year. Yeah. I think they were one of the teams that rested as much as they could. With the new rules, of course, that'll be tougher to do. But Kevin Durant was really good on Phoenix last year in the games that we saw him on the floor. They were never really a team. Devin Booker and Kevin Durant didn't really get a chance to get acclimated before the playoffs. So
8 games, I think.
Yeah, it was 8 games, and I think they were 8-0 in those games. So it'll be very interesting to watch the Suns. Of course, I have a lot of questions defensively.
Right.
I think that they could very well run like a 10-man rotation going into the season. It'll be interesting to see how that rotation gets shortened as the season goes on. Projected win totals at 52.5. I've got them lower than that. I've got them one game above the Golden State Warriors at 47-35. That's where I think the Phoenix Suns are.
Okay.
I've got Phoenix number 5. Does that surprise you?
Not really. Not really. I had them higher, but I mean, like you said, it's all close. Because they will. I'll get to them in a minute, but they will rest players a little bit. Know the injury concerns and everything. But I'll get to him. This is my number 4.
Yeah,
I think this team had the best offseason before some of the trades that's happened lately. This is why I have the Los Angeles Lakers.
I have the Lakers at number 4 also.
Okay.
I've got the Lakers at number 4 too.
I was tempted to put them higher, but because they really, I know they started bad last year, but the trade deadline they really improved and they did even more this offseason. I know it's always I'm not gonna say like Clippers, but it's always AD's health, and I guess you want to say LeBron a little bit, even though it's not very bad.
Yeah.
I think the lineup will be Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, LeBron. I'm guessing Jared Vanderbilt. It might be
That's what I have. I have Jerry Vanderbilt starting.
okay. Anthony Davis at the 5, which I know he wants to play for us on. We'll see. They lost Dennis Schroeder, who was pretty good for them last year. Torrey Brown, Lonnie Walker. But they brought in Gabe Vincent, who was really good for Miami in the playoff run last year.
Very crucial.
Brought in Christian Wood, Jackson Hayes, Taurean Prince, Cam Reddish. Guys, I guess they were, I think, minimums or close to it, so you could take a flyer on a few of them. Christian Wood kind of, I guess, gives you some depth behind AD if something happens, at least offensively. Jackson Hayes is the same way. I think this year Max Christie could end up in the rotation.
I
want to
believe.
say, it'd be the end of it. It kind of depends on what happens, like if they move D'Lo or something.
Yeah.
Like you said, even with them, it is health. I know AD today said he wanted to play all 82 games. That happens. I don't know what to think, but the over under is 48.5. I had him right under. I had him at 48 wins.
Okay.
Like they can make a push for higher, or they could go the route like you said with Phoenix. They could kind of rest guys toward the end, or try to rest guys, and especially if they have a play-in or playoff lock. Because we saw last year they were a play-in team. I think they ended the 7th seed, played Memphis, and they, as a 7th seed, they ended up as in the conference finals. So
Yeah.
I don't think they're that worried about how high they are because they know they have a chance wherever they're at.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they want to be a play-in team, but because anything can happen, play-in team, one loss, you're out. But I don't think they just fight for the number 1 seed.
Right. Yeah, you touched on basically everything, man. The Lakers are my number 4 as well, but outside of every team in the Western Conference not named the reigning champion Denver Nuggets, I think the Lakers have the best chance in the Western Conference to win the championship. I'm not going to lie.
Over Phoenix?
Over Phoenix, yeah. I think they do.
Yeah.
I think the Lakers have a lot. I think they've already established the continuity that Phoenix has not been able to establish. They've developed. They believe in Darvin Ham's system. I believe. I think that they bought into that, especially the second half of last year, and they've overcome adversity. They're the first team to ever start out like 0-5 and make the playoffs last season.
Yeah, they were 2-10 before I think they started winning.
Yeah, at the beginning of last season, we were talking about the Lakers on this channel like they were like one of the worst teams of all time, and they made the Western Conference Finals in the same year. Rob Blink has done an amazing job surrounding LeBron and AD with great role-playing guys. And I think, especially if this team is towards the top of the Western Conference like we project them to be, I think he's going to continue to do that throughout this season to continue to tweak that roster to be the best that it can be. And I think LeBron's going to come out with a vengeance this year. I think Anthony Davis is going to come out with a vengeance this year. We've seen some of the comments they made today talking in regards to Denver. They're taking it personally. They're taking it personally what Denver did to them last season. I'm excited to watch the Laker basketball. I think they'll be a very good team. I think that their starting lineup could potentially look different in April than it does right now. Like you said, the projected win total at 48.5. I've got them one game better, making them the over at 49-33 for me. That's where I've got the Lakers.
Yeah, they could be a lot better. They could just take the easy route, but Rob Pelinka really turned that roster around.
He did. He was the most hated man in LA, and then all of a sudden he's the most loved man in LA.
Right. So
well, no, let me go. Let me go.
Is your number 3?
Let me go. This is my number 3.
Okay.
Something I've hinted at for a long time. This is my agenda of the year. This is my yearly agenda team that I push. I've been pushing this team this offseason, not overtly, so Jacob will know where they're at. But this is a team that I really believe had the most underrated offseason in the NBA. Unlike Jacob, I think that this team's surrounding pieces are really, really good.
Like I said, I won't be surprised, but I got to see it.
I've got the Dallas Mavericks as my number 3 seed. In the
I
West.
thought you were talking about Memphis. Well, never mind.
No, I've got Dallas. Dallas is my agenda team. Why would I push a Memphis agenda? We've got enough people. We got enough people who do that already.
I don't know. I'm not pushing the Dallas agenda. You're on your own. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but you're on your own.
The Dallas Mavericks are my number 3 seed, though. Luka and Kyrie, as you said last year, didn't get a whole lot of time to play with each other. I know the record wasn't great in the sample size that they got, but I think that as long as they're on the floor together, they're going to win games because they are 2 winning players.
I will say there was a game, I know specifically because it was against Philly. When they're both on, you're not going to stop them. When they're both on, you're not stopping them. I saw that firsthand. They wouldn't miss, and no matter what, you can't keep up if they're both hitting their shots.
Offensively, they're right up there with Phoenix, in my opinion. They're right up there with Phoenix and Sacramento and Denver as the best offensive teams in the West. Defensively, obviously, they've had some questions. I think they did a really good job of addressing it with Grant Williams. I think Grant Williams, I see you kind of – what do you think about Grant Williams?
I'll think about my hot take that you're going to be in awe, but I like Grant Williams so far. I mean, I know he had his moments last year, talking trash, backfired, but I think he'll defensively, yeah, especially that they don't have Reggie Bullock this year.
Yeah, they lost a few guys, but I love the addition of Grant Williams. I think he's a really great guy to have on that team. They've got Seth Curry back. Seth Curry is back on the team. I think Seth Curry is a big-time guy to have as the season goes on, a guy who Luka and Kyrie can both kick it out to. Kyrie, of course, has continuity with him as they played together in Brooklyn. The Derek Lively pick at number 10 was very, very good. They picked up Rashawn Holmes and Derek Jones Jr. Free agency as well, who are guys that can be plugged in the rotation and be very, very good. I think a Luka Rashawn Holmes pick and roll, low key, could be one of the most unstoppable pick and rolls.
Could be good. Yeah, it could be good.
Rashawn Holmes pick and roll numbers, if you don't know, are like some of the best in the NBA.
I forgot they traded for him. I believe it was a trade on draft night. I kind of forgot about that, but yeah, that'll probably more than likely be a play they run a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, we don't know their big rotation with Maxi Kleber coming back full time. Of course, they still have Dwight Powell and now Rashawn Holmes, along with Derek Lively and Grant Williams. But they've got depth. They've got the depth to run whatever they want. I believe in Jason Kidd as a coach. They've been to the Western Conference Finals in the last 2 years. I'm a believer in the Dallas Mavericks this year, man. I'm a believer in the Dallas Mavericks. They are my agenda team. I think Luka. I mean, obviously, we're going to do awards here in a few weeks, but expect Luka to be in my top 3 of MVP again.
Of course.
Expect it again. Nothing has changed. Their projected win total is 44.5, and I think they shatter that by winning 50 games. I think they go 50-32.
They're a 3 seed, right?
They're my 3 seed, yeah.
Okay. I was 7 games off, but big difference in standings, though.
Oh, yeah.
So.
You have them at 9, bro.
9. I won't say it. We'll see in a minute. My number 3, this is why I have Phoenix. Obviously, when they made the Bradley Beal trade? I think they made the Bradley Beal trade. I was skeptical of the depth they could have, having 4 max players and then a lot of minimum signings. But They were great with these minimum signings. And then even trading DeAndre Ayton a few days ago helped the depth, getting Grayson Allen. Who else? They got Keon Johnson.
Yeah, Johnson, Nasir Little.
Right. Which, some of those guys could get cut or traded or whatever, waived. But they kind of rounded out that roster good. I was skeptical of it, but if healthy, I hate saying if, but they all dealt with their own injuries last year. Bradley Beal Wasn't hurt as much last year. I know Devin Booker missed some time. KD missed some time. But when they're healthy, they have a chance to be the best offense, at least in the West. Maybe the league. We'll see. We'll get to more on that next week. But yeah, if they're healthy, I could see them being the 1 seed, but I got them at 3. I think they're going to rest. They might deal with an injury or two, but I think they're going to rest a little bit for the playoffs. I don't even want to say rest. It's like a rule now, but it happens every year.
Yeah. Part of the reason why I had them a little lower, too, is because they're bringing in a new coach, a proven coach in Frank Vogel.
Frank Vogel, yeah, right.
But they're bringing in a whole new coaching staff, which I think it takes some time to adjust to as well. So
I know we talked that Nurkic really isn't upgraded the center spot from Ayton.
That's my opinion.
I'm there with you, but I think like I said, chemistry-wise, it's an upgrade. And, they say he's a defensive anchor. I don't know where they've seen that at in the last few years. I guess the old highlights got mixed in, but I don't know. I guess chemistry-wise, and I think you said he can make a little bit better than Ayton, and he's not gonna, pout, get mad if he doesn't get the ball,
Yeah.
So I thought with Frank Vogel, DeAndre Ayton would have a better year, and now he's like not better situation, but new situation for both players. I guess we'll have to see how it feels. Like I said, as long as those 3, Bill, Booker, KD, are healthy, they're fine. I don't think it doesn't matter who you put around them, they're fine.
Right. Exactly. Can you go first here at number 2? Can you go first, or should I go?
When I go, it's a hot take.
Okay, I'll go first. I'll go.
I'll go.
Okay, go.
My number 2, I have the Denver Nuggets. So,
you want to know something crazy?
That's where you have them.
Me too. Me too.
So before we get to Denver, who's your number 1?
Well, that only leaves one team,
Memphis.
The Memphis Grizzlies.
Have Sacramento Kings.
We're both swinging for the fences here, aren't we?
Definitely. We could touch on Denver for a second. It's not much.
Yeah.
I'm glad that's different. I figured it'd be. We talked this past week. We got a surprise team.
That's crazy. I have Sacramento at 7. You have them at 1, and you have Memphis at 7, and I have them at 1. That's actually great.
Hopefully, we get a playoff series this year. For Denver, like I said, reigning champs. We know they're top 5 is going to be good. My biggest thing with Denver, they lost their 6 and 7 guys who were important, and I know they're expecting somebody like Christian Brown and I think Peyton Watson, young guys and young rookies. I know they made a few trades in the draft to move up, move back, switch picks around. Last year they were really good, but I know at the end of the year they kind of fell off. I'm not gonna say fell off, but took their foot off the gas. When the number 1 seed was set, we saw them die down a little bit.
I don't put any stock into that. They secured the 1 seed.
That's what I mean. Like that's what I'm saying. If they're set, they're not scared to play anybody. So I think if they're set, they're gonna take the foot off the gas at the end to stay healthy a little bit. That's what I mean. Jamal Murray, starting lineup: Jamal Murray, KCP, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, Jokic.
Same as last year. Yep.
Same as last year. I know they're gonna have. I know last year it was injury concerns coming in. I'm not going to say that this year. They lost Bruce Brown, Jeff Green. Bruce Brown is really important to them, especially in the playoffs. Julian Strawther is the guy I was thinking that they drafted. I think first round, end of the first, beginning of the second.
I like him. I like him a lot.
Peyton Watson brought back Reggie Jackson, Big Najee. DeAndre Jordan, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, they could be the 1 seed. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think they fall out of the top 3 unless they just don't care if an injury happens. like I said, I think they're confident enough, and they even in themselves that if Jokic and Murray are playing, they don't care where they're at.
How many wins? How many wins do you have for them?
I hate it. I think the projected 52 and a half, 53 and a half.
I have them at 52 and a half.
I had them.
I have them at 53 and 29.
I had them at 50 and 32, which I think was one game worse than last year, I believe. No, three games worse. Like I said, they could smash the over, but I think from what they did last year and they won the championship, if they rest guys at the end, they don't care. Like I said, that's a if. If it's a big playoff race or something, Phoenix, LA, or somebody, whether they fall for some reason. But I just think, based off of last year, they're a team. They're confident enough. If they get where they want to be, I don't think they'll just go all out at the end of the year.
Here's the little bit that I'll say about the Denver Nuggets. I'm not going to say a lot. I'll say a few sentences. Nikola Jokic makes everybody around him so much better.
Yep.
That I think that the Bruce Brown loss will not even be noticed. I don't even think they'll notice one bit.
I think it could some. It just depends on Christian Brown, who basically played the same role last year, just at a lesser level. But he could end up being just as good. It easily just as good.
I don't even think it matters if he is. Nikola Jokic is that good.
Yeah.
As long as he's on the floor, he's going to play at an MVP level. He's going to raise the value of everybody else on the floor.
Yeah. I don't see them making any trades at all. Maybe they could. I know they did last year. Made a few small ones, but
it would be for back end bench depth. That's all it would be for.
So
forget Denver though. Let's get these number ones, man. Let's get these number ones.
You want me to go first?
No, I want to go first.
All right.
Because it's a parade inside my city, yeah. It's a parade inside my city. I've got Memphis at number one. And I knew I was going to do this for a long time. I knew it. Even with the John Morant suspension, they are a different animal in the regular season. One of our casual basketball friends, Nathan, the smartest thing about basketball he's ever said. The smartest thing about basketball he's ever said.
I was there for it.
That the Grizzlies take the regular season and turn it into something more than all these other teams do. And that's such like a casual type statement to make, but it's true.
They do. They take it a lot more serious than anybody else.
It's true. And that's not a knock on them at all. That's a good thing. They consistently are a top 2-3 team in the Western Conference. I think the addition of Marcus Smart is the most underrated player in the NBA. I know, like you said, he had a down year last year defensively by his standards, but he was still good. He was still good on the defensive end.
Yeah.
I think he's the most underrated player in the NBA. I think he's going to be great on the Grizzlies. I think that he'll provide just enough for them in Ja Morant's absence.
Right.
Obviously, their depth is a little questionable, but in the regular season, I don't think it matters that much because their top guys always produce in the regular season.
Right.
And as long as they're healthy, they're going to the fact that you had them at 7. The fact that you had them at 7 is the craziest thing out of all of this to me.
You shouldn't be surprised. But I will say that the switch from Dillon Brooks to Marcus Smart isn't that. It makes up for it, I guess. We know Dillon, the shot selection isn't great, but he is pretty good on defense when he doesn't, poke bears and everything.
Poke bears is crazy.
I
poke bears.
So, like I said, even Marcus Smart, by his standards, wasn't that great defensively last year. And I know I've mentioned it before with Marcus Smart. He does, it might have just been a Boston thing. At the end of games, he did try to take over sometimes. But, it was not take over, but take that shot, which I don't think he has to worry about that in Memphis with the shooting they have.
Yeah.
I think they'll be, like I said, they'll be above 500 without Ja. How far above 500, I'm not sure.
In those 25 games, I've looked at the schedule.
It's not part of the
schedule. I think they go 16-9.
I think when I first looked at the schedule, I think I said either 14-11 or 13-12, because they do play some good teams. They play, I think, LA a few times, Dallas, New Orleans. I forgot who else, but like I said, if they're a lot better, I'm not surprised. But I guess I'm just putting more stock into certain teams. OKC, but I don't know. Like, if they're the 1 seed, I'm not surprised because they do take the regular season serious.
The Grizzlies are
said
good.
that last year, but
They're good. And we're talking about playoffs, I still have them below Denver. I have them below the Lakers, and I have them below Phoenix and probably Golden State too. So they're the fifth most likely team to win or go to the finals in the Western Conference, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But regular season wise, they were outside of Denver, they were my no-brainer number one. No-brainer, even without Ja Morant for 25 games. They're getting Brandon Clark back too, who they missed all of last
season. I don't think he plays anytime soon.
Really?
He got hurt the middle of last year. I don't think there's a timetable yet.
Did he?
It was towards the middle, I think. I might be wrong.
I'm about to check that because I don't think that's true.
From what I've seen early in the offseason, he might not play until Christmas. Which, I mean, it isn't that far, but
that's what they said about Jaren Jackson last year too, and he was literally playing like week 3. Apples and oranges, though.
Yeah.
Okay, they talked about it today. Yeah, he won't be ready for the start of the season. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's like a week-to-week thing. So
okay. See, I know it was worse in the offseason, which that's offseason, but
like I said, it is an Achilles injury too, which is important
to. He might ease into it. Like I said, they're number one. Not surprised. Like I said, the West is anybody's game, regular season wise. Like you said, playoffs. I don't have them above a couple teams, but if they make a run in the playoffs, I don't think I'd be that surprised. I know they've had their struggles before, but they could make a run.
Yeah. Talk to me about the Kings, though. Talk to me about your number one.
Number one. I wasn't even set on the Kings. I was like, I'm gonna take a swing. When we started talking about standings, I was like, I'm gonna take a swing. And I was just looking, and I was like, why not? Why not build off of last year? Lost Terrence Davis, Rashawn Holmes, who I think fell out of the rotation. They brought in Chris Duarte, Sasha
Vezenkov,
McGee, Noel. I think they let Noel go, but I know they brought in JaVale. Lineup: De'Aaron Fox, Kevin Huerter, Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, Domantas Sabonis. Their bench isn't bad. It's not the best, but we saw what they did last year offensively. They were, I think, the best. They had the best offensive rating last year.
Mm-hmm. They did by far.
Defense, I know, wasn't great, and they have a defensive coach in Mike Brown. So I think it'll be improved. And like you said, they didn't really add key pieces, but they didn't lose any key pieces either. I know it's some Draymond talk, some Kyle Kuzma talk, early free agency. But they were the healthiest team, I think, by far last year. I think they had the least amount of players missing games, which it's a lot to put into to happen again. But because I know Sabonis, he got hurt last year, but he played through it. Fox played through, I think, a few injuries. Kevin Huerter, I know month by month just kind of went downhill after the beginning of the season, shooting wise. But I think they want to make another statement. I think they just want to go out, compete. Mike Brown had energy great last year. I know coming into the year, there was clips of him yelling, running everything, yelling from the press conference area. Like I said, it more than likely won't happen. If it does, it's a swing. Might look like a genius, might look like a full like some teams I did last year. Oh, I'm willing to take it. I had him over. It was 44.5. I had him over. I had him at 51 wins.
Oh, my thing for the Grizzlies too. The Grizzlies projected win total was 45.5. I have the Grizzlies at 55 and 27.
Really?
Yeah.
Ja does get hurt every year too at some point a little bit.
Yeah, I don't expect him to only miss those 25 games. I'm not expecting that.
Okay. Like you said, if Marcus Smart just fits in perfectly, and I know they have Derrick Rose who probably won't see time, might every now and then. Yeah, like you said, they could be higher, could be lower. I think the West regular season's just up for grabs for between a few teams. Like I said, it could be like last year, a team we have New Orleans at 11 could be the 3 seed, but
Who knows? For all we know, Portland could be a top 3 seed. Yeah, I said it.
yeah, but
Nah.
yeah, I think the standings it's anybody's game in the West, at least regular season wise, because we know we know some of the rotations in the playoffs. It's I guess how bad do you want it? Like I said, the West, my highest team is 51 wins. I think it just every night they're gonna play a West team most of the time. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be a fight every night, every game.
Yeah. This was really fun to do. I'm glad that we had all these discrepancies because I was really hoping that we wouldn't get to this point and like we have so many times before. Like
Yeah.
my surprise team is, that's my surprise team. Just to show the differences between like our number 1 teams, and of course I had Dallas at number 3, you had Dallas at number 9. Yeah, man. You got OKC at number 6. I had OKC at 10. I'm glad our heads are different on this, just showing how unpredictable the Western Conference is this upcoming season. Makes it so, so exciting. And as a fan of a Western Conference team, I'm so excited to see how it plays out.
A few more years, Portland could be in the playoff race again, depending
on that. I stamped that.
Depending on the development of some players.
I stamped that. But yeah, man. Western Conference, that was a lot of fun. Eastern Conference coming next week, Jacob. We got some more work to do. To figure out. I think the top of the Eastern Conference will be a lot easier than the top of the West. I think we can both say that.
Yeah,
but,
it'll be some changes, I know, but yeah, it'll be a lot different. It'll be closer.
Yeah, I'm that was a great episode, though. I'm really glad that we went the directions we did.
I really thought we had the same team as like the surprise team.
I did too. I was so afraid that you would be high on the Grizzlies. I was really afraid.
It's just a suspension, and I know injuries, but.
Did you suspect Dallas? Did you suspect I had Dallas that high?
No. I figured. You're high on Dallas. I figured you had them. Would you have them 3?
I have Dallas at 3.
Not that high, but I figured you had them top 5, top 6.
I thought the team that you would have high, I thought you would have the Clippers high. I thought you'd have the Clippers high.
I figured you thought I had Minnesota because I've been talking about Minnesota a lot.
I kind of feel like you would trail off Minnesota, but having them at 10, I didn't think you'd have them at 10. I thought you would have them around like 6, 7 range.
They were close to, but I almost had the Mavs at 10. I was real close.
Wow.
But I gave them. I guess I need a bigger sample size of Cat and Rudy. Which I mean, same for Luka and Kyrie, but I trust that more than Cat and Rudy.
Understandable. That's very understandable. Like we said, you can take these standings that we just gave and completely like throw them up against the wall because we're almost never right. So, yeah.
1 and 2 out of 15 last year. So.
Yep. Eastern Conference was better. I'll say that we're better at the Eastern Conference just because it's more concrete. At least I am.
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. Before we close though today, Jacob, is there anything else you want to say about the future or anything else that happened today?
No, a lot of media days, a lot of quotes came out, a lot of good things to know from new coaches and everything.
And no James Harden.
Huh?
And no James Harden.
I was gonna pass on it. It was expected. Yeah, he wasn't the media day. Figured he didn't get on the team plane to go to training camp, so he has a history of flying by himself. We'll see if that happens.
Oh, he's on.
You brought that up. I think if it does lead into the season like Ben Simmons, I don't think we wait until the trade deadline. I think it gets done sooner. I know Morey wants to get the absolute most for him, but there is that little thing in the CBA where if he sits out, we control him next year. Like if he wants to play anywhere, we can decline it and veto it, whatever.
Yeah.
But if he wants to keep get these big contracts, I think he'll come and play eventually at the start of the year. I think he'll have to.
You would think.
Unless he was serious about China and they just give him a bag.
They would. They
definitely would. That'd be hilarious. I don't see that, but it'd be hilarious.
Other than that, though, man, it's been a great episode and hoping for the same thing next week. I'm sure it will be great. Oh, yeah. But yeah, we'll sign out for now. We'll see y'all next week with the Eastern Conference standings. Western Conference standings, we out. Peace out.